Hello, I'm Mario, and today's video is about how I connect my GeoPro travel trailer to city water. So when I'm camping and water is available at my RV site, then I'm going to connect to it. So I'm not going over the freshwater tank. And so I have different components involved, and what I'm looking to do is make some improvements on the water pressure, or maybe more accurately, the water flow, how much water flows into my trailer. And so I want to address that maybe with this newer hose here. It's of a brand called 0G, and I currently have 0G hoses, but I made a mistake, at least I believe I made a mistake, and I bought a different size hose than what this hose is here. And so that's kind of the things that we're going to be going over. You know, what components I use, and then going ahead and upgrading to this hose and talking about some of the different sizes that are available. And it was a mistake I made, and so I just wanted to share that with you guys today. Currently I have a complete system in place, and I'm using 0G hoses, and I'm also using a clear 2.0 water filter. And so it's a two-stage water filter that has two different cartridges. And so I just lay that flat on the ground, and that's my filter. And some of those cartridges, some of those filters you don't want to lay on the ground because they are not, basically they're kind of like a bunch of, like grains of sand, or the filter media is loose, and it's not of a like a monolithic cartridge. So they are only designed to work in a vertical position. So this is okay to lay flat as far as I can tell, where I wouldn't probably trust maybe one of the blue ones, where mine are green and they're clear 2.0. If you cut one open, you might understand exactly what I'm talking about as far as the media that they use to filter. And so at any rate, enough said on that. So yeah, I'm using the 0G hoses currently. I'm also using a Camco hose, and I have some shut-off valves and a Y splitter there. And so all of that, like I mentioned, it's all working very well. But the objective with these new products here, like for instance, I have this hose here, and the difference in this is the inside diameter of the hose. So this is a 3/4 inch GHT hose, meaning that it uses the standardized garden hose thread, so GHT, garden hose thread. So this 3/4 inch GHT will work great. I also have 3/4 inch hoses in the back, but the difference here is that the inside diameter of the hoses I have over there, I have one that is 1/2 inch, and I have another that is 5/8. This one has a 3/4 inch inside diameter. So the other thing I have are these brass fittings here. So these are kind of like hose menders, and I bought them from Amazon. I have 3 sets here. So here's an example of one set, and then so you have basically a male and a female end, and then this little end here plugs into the hose to mend a hose or replace a hose that has issues with its current fitting. And the reason why I have these is because the only hose that I could find that was 3/4 inch diameter is 75 feet long, and I don't want a 75-foot long hose. So I'm going to measure this hose out. I'm going to cut it to the length I desire, and then I'm going to attach one of these, or actually both of these, to this hose. So I'm going to turn this one 75-foot hose into 2 hoses, and then I'm going to replace 2 of the hoses that I have currently hooked up. So the objective is to replace this blue hose, which I purchased. I wanted a short hose, and I believe this is 20 feet or maybe 25 feet. And what I don't like about it is that this is 1/2 inch. It's not even 5/8 on the inside diameter. The fitting is 3/4 inch GHT, so this will fit directly onto here, no problem. Now I might run into issues by changing the you know, if the inside diameter is really large and the hose is really short, it may create turbulence. I mean, I don't know anything about hydraulics. I'm not an expert, but I do understand, or I believe that to be true. So there's I guess some sort of formulation on pressure and diameter and length and all these sorts of things. So I could be shooting myself in the foot, but I want to give it a go. What I want to replace is, like I mentioned, this blue one, and then the other very tiny little itty bitty hose is this one that comes with my Clear 2.0. So hopefully I'm not going to change the performance of this by changing out this smaller diameter. So I think the first thing I want to focus on is trying to replace this deal here. And what I've discovered is that that a lot of these fittings, I have like my Y adapter, or I have even this fitting here, it doesn't fit very well in my Clear 2.0 filter. So the inlet to my filter requires a lot of it's very deep, and I've tried putting 2 washers in here before, and it didn't work. As I thread this down, it doesn't seal up very well, because the other adapters will bottom out here before they touch the seal. So what I'm going to attempt to use 2 washers, even though 2 washers failed in the past, and just see how that works out. And yeah, I can tell it takes the original washer and just pushes it into the canister. I'm going to try 2 aftermarket, so to speak, seals, because the one that comes with the Clear 2.0 filter just seems to squish out of the way each time. That one's performing very differently. I'm going to call that good as far as being effective. So I just needed 2 washers that weren't the original washer, and hopefully I don't die from rubber poisoning. So the next step is to commit and cut this. I'm going to cut it maybe 18-20 inches, and hopefully it works. So I don't even know if this is going to work. I think this can work. I just need to trim out some of the sheathing, that green sheathing. Let's see if this here actually leaks. I'm going to hook it up. All right, here's the moment of truth. So I got it hooked up and I think it's snug. I guess I could turn it on. So there's your answer. It doesn't work. So I went ahead and so what I'm trying to do here is just make the outside diameter of the hose a little bit bigger so that this fitting, the hose mender brass clamp fitting thing, will be more adept. I don't see any leaks, but what's happening is the hose is bulging because the sheath is stripped back. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find some vulcanized tape and maybe give this another go. I managed to stop the leaking by adding some electrical tape right here and kind of just thicken the whole outside diameter of the hose. So at any rate, since that seems to have a positive effect, I'm not sure it's long lasting, but since it does have a positive impact on controlling the leaking, I went ahead and I ran to the store and picked up this self-vulcanizing tape. This one's in the flavor of silicone, and so basically you just stretch it and then you have a certain amount of work time, and this one says maybe 30 seconds, but you can stretch it up to 3 times its original size. So at any rate, that's the idea. Is I'll finish taking this off, and then since I have enough length here, I'll just cut this back a little and kind of start over, but instead of using just standard electrical tape, I'm going to try to use this this self-vulcanizing tape here. So what I try to do is get the sheathing kind of over it, but when I heated the sheathing, it shrank the circumference a little, so I think I might slice that open a little. So I built that up quite a bit, but as you can see, I have the ability to get this clamp over the sheathing here. So not too bad for my first try, I think. We'll see how well this one holds out, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a similar process for the other section of hose and try to get everything all hooked up. So I'll see you in a second. It's been several days and I'm actually at a different location now. Where I was at before, I was planning on moving and I was only going to be there for a few more days, but the last couple of nights that I was there, it was actually freezing. It was dipping down below 30 degrees, so I had to disconnect all the hoses and whatnot. But yeah, long story short, that setup, that clamp, it failed, and it failed because the clamp itself, the hardware, I couldn't get all of the clamping hardware to fit over that adapter, over that that fitting, so the stem didn't the stem of it wasn't really long enough, and the clamp would always kind of be over and just simply didn't have anything to really bind down on, and it would squeeze the hose, and then the pressure of the water and everything, and the whole thing would just fly off. And so so what I've worked out as a solution, and I still have to do continued testing, but it seems to be working now. But I went to the old style, just barbed fittings. So old style hose clamps and just barbed plumbing fittings. And I think it's going to work because I'm able to get all of the clamps over the barb, over that metal, that solid brass metal. And yeah, so as I mentioned, I bought those, and I didn't use the hose clamps that came with it because what I needed to do, like I said, get all that, those hose clamps are just too large. So I used 2 smaller hose clamps. One to get the actual hose clamped down, and then I used a second small hose clamp to clamp down the sheathing. And originally I tried using the small hose clamp and one of the larger hose clamps, but the same thing happened. The fitting just slipped right off. So anything that I put over just the hose alone would just cause it to slide off. So I got the main hose hooked up, and I have the little extension hose before the filter. I got one more hose to do, but I just want to do a little testing before I get too crazy and you know, hook everything up. But yeah, it seems to be working. And I'm going to test it out, and I'll let you guys know how that turns out. Because like I said, it's kind of precarious how I have things set up now, and it doesn't look great. So I'm hopeful, but I don't have necessarily. Put it this way: when I go to town, or if I leave for a little while, I'm gonna shut the pressure off before I do that until I get some more extensive testing done on this. But at least I'm happy, and I've looked for different solutions, like commercial solutions, and there's just nothing out there really, because of the you know, anytime you ask for anything that's, you know, safe for drinking water, then it's kind of like the businesses, they don't want anything to do with it because it just, you know, you have to have these special standards to adhere to. So I can't find any way to get custom hoses that have the same flexibility as these hoses here. So, like I said, high hopes. But yeah, I'm at the Colorado River here right now, and right back over that way is the Gulf of Mexico. So this is where the Colorado River ends. Got boats, lots of fishing and stuff here. So anyway, pretty cool place. I'm enjoying it here. They have a cold spell coming here where it's going to drop down to 40 degrees. So I think I could handle that. So the wind's kicking up a little bit, and that cold front's starting to move in. But yeah, so that's it. I'm going to close this one out. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll give you the updates on how this thing holds out, and we'll see what I end up using long term. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.